Welcome to our next lesson. Today we're going to be looking at order of operations and evaluating expressions. Now, order of operations, you guys have probably heard PEMDAS or something similar to it. I'm going to go ahead and go through each of those, write those down here. So the P in PEMDAS stands for parentheses. It can be a lot of grouping, anything inside a parentheses or absolute value or inside some sort of a grouping. It doesn't necessarily have to be parentheses. The E stands for exponents. That's the numbers to a power of something. The next is multiply or divide, and it doesn't matter what order. You're really going from left to right when you multiply or divide. So if divide comes first going left to right, that's totally okay. You can do dividing before multiplying. The next one is adding or subtracting, and that's the same. You can subtract first and then add. Whatever order happens from left to right, that's how you want to do it. So these are the order in which you're doing operations when you're evaluating some sort of an expression. Our first example here says evaluate 6 plus 3x squared when x equals 2. Now the first thing, when it gives us x equals 2, evaluate means to plug in. So we're going to take that 2 and plug it in for x, just like this. So I take the x out and I plug in a 2. Now every single time I take a variable out and plug in a number, I'm going to use parentheses, and it's important that you do the same thing. Okay, so I put parentheses 2. Then I'm going to go in order, parentheses, there's nothing I can do inside these parentheses. Then I'm going to go over to exponents. I do have an exponent here, so that's going to be 2 squared. If you remember what the exponent means, it's this multiplied by itself this many times. So really it's going to be 2 times 2, and that's how I got this 4 here. Next, I'm going to multiply or divide. I do have a 3 times 4. Remember, parentheses means multiply. So 3 times 4 is 12. And then I'm going to do my adding or subtracting. 6 plus 12 is 18. Go ahead and try exercise 1 here. Okay, so again, I'm evaluating. I'm going to take this x and plug it in. So I take 3, plug it in for x, just like this. Again, there's parentheses there. The next thing I'm going to do is exponents, the E in PEMDAS. That's 3 squared, 3 times itself, 3 times 3, 2 times. That's 3 times 3, which is 9. And then I have multiplying or dividing. That's 2 times 9 is 18. Next, I'm going to do adding or subtracting. 18 and 5, add those together is 23. Example 2. Here I have something similar, but I have a little bit of division in there. Again, I'm going to start with taking a out and plugging in 6. So again, I put parentheses 6 here to the second power. I don't have anything I can do in parentheses, but I do have an exponent, so I'm going to do that. 6 squared. 6 times 6, which is 36 here. Okay, 36 divided by 6 plus 2. The next thing that I'm going to do is multiply or divide. I do have division here. That's 36 divided by 6, which is 6. And then I have adding and subtracting. 6 plus 3 is 9. Go ahead and do exercise 2. Okay, again, we're going to evaluate a squared by plugging in the 4 for a squared for a. So it looks like this: 4 squared divided by 4 plus 5. 4 squared, that's 16. 4 times 4, 4 times itself 2 times, is 16 divided by 4 plus 5. Then I have 16 divided by 4, which is 4. And my last step, 4 plus 5, which is 9. Go ahead and do exercise 3. Okay, now this one's a little bit trickier, but what I'm going to do is start with parentheses here. I'm going to put everything in parentheses, plugging all of these numbers in for those letters. Looks like this. So I put parentheses, b, which is 6, so I plug in that 6 here, squared, minus 4a, which is 3, and 9, which is c. Next, I'm going to evaluate the exponents. I don't have anything in parentheses that I can do. I do the exponents. That's 6 times 6, which is 36. So I have 36 and then minus all of that. Next, I'm going to multiply and divide. The first thing I'm going to do is negative 4 times 3. This is a negative 4, which gives me negative 12. And then I have more multiplying that I can do. I have to do negative 12 times 9, which is 108. So now I have 36 minus 108. Then I'm done with my multiplication and division. I go to adding and subtracting. So I do 36 minus 108, which is going to give me a negative 72. Now you may remember that this symbol here with the 2 lines around a number is the absolute value, and that's our next vocab word here is absolute value. Make sure you write that down. An absolute value represents the distance from 0 on a number line. It's how far a number is from 0. So if I look at the absolute value of 4, I'm looking at 4 and how far it is from 0. Okay, so 4 is 4 units from 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 4 units from 0. So the absolute value of 4 is 4 because it's 4 units from 0. I do the same thing with a negative 4. That is also 4 units from 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the absolute value of negative 4 is also 4 because it's 4 units from 0. Now you'll notice that the absolute value always makes a number positive. It always makes a number positive because that's how many units it is. So either a positive or a negative number in here is always going to be positive. Go ahead and try exercise 4 here. All right, so the absolute value of a positive 6 is 6 because it's 6 units from 0. And the absolute value of negative 6 is positive 6 because, again, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units from 0. Again, absolute value makes everything inside there positive. Okay, so we get our answer and then make it positive. Example 4, again, we're going to evaluate using the absolute value this time. So what I'm going to do is start with plugging that 6 in for A. So I have 6, the absolute value of 6 plus 3. 6 plus 3 is 9. And then the absolute value of 9 is just 9 because it's 9 units away. Go ahead and try exercise 5. Okay, we're doing the same thing. We're taking 6 and plugging it in for A. Now here's one of those times where it's really important that you have those parentheses. We have a negative and then parentheses 6 plus 3. Then we have negative 6 plus 3. So negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3. And then the absolute value of negative 3, it makes this answer positive. So the absolute value is 3. Now with example 5 here, I put this on here just because you're going to see stuff like this on the test. So what we're going to do is compare the following. Okay, so we have a negative 6. We're going through our order of operations. There's no parentheses. There's no exponents, no multiplying or dividing. It's all just adding. So I have negative 6 plus 4. So I have negative 6 plus 4, which is negative 2. So I'm doing this part first. And I get negative 2. Once I'm done with that part, then I can do negative 2 minus 8. Negative 2 minus 8 is negative 10. And I'm going to write that down right here. Then I'm going to go on to the second one, negative 6 plus 4 plus 8. Again, I'm just going from left to right here. Negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2. And then negative 2 plus 8 is positive 6. So I have a negative 10 and a positive 6. Now what I want to do next is figure out which symbol to put in here. So I have negative 10 and 6. Remember, this is less than, equal to, or greater than. Less than is negative 10 less than 6. Yes, it is. So I'm going to go put the less than sign right there. Go ahead and do exercise 6. All right, again, we're going with the first numbers here with A, and we're going left to right. So negative 6 plus 5 is negative 1. And then negative 1 minus 8 is negative 9. And I'm going to write that down right here. The next one is negative 6 plus 5 minus 7. Left to right, negative 6 plus 5 is negative 1 again. And then I'm subtracting 7, so I have negative 7. So that gives me negative 8. And then again, negative 9 is less than negative 8 on a number line. Okay? So we have less than, we write that in there. This is very similar. And again, this is absolutely something you're going to see on tests. So watch how I go through this. So for the first example, write the letter that best fits the example. So we're going to evaluate these and then decide what letter to plug in there. Okay. Going from left to right, I have negative 3 minus or plus a negative 6, which gives me negative 9. And then negative 9 minus 4 is negative 13. So I have a negative 13 here. Then I have 3 minus 6, a positive 3 minus 6, which gives me negative 3. Negative 3 minus 4 is negative 7. So I have a negative 7 here. So now I look at the letters up here. The number in column A is greater. Is negative 13 greater than negative 7? It is not, so we know it's not that one. Then we go on to B. The number in column B is greater. Is column B is negative 7 greater than negative 13? It is. So what I'm going to do now is put letter B in that first box. Okay. Go ahead and try the next one here. All right. So we have, here we go. The absolute value of A if A is negative 5. So the first thing I'm going to do is plug in negative 5 there. And again, absolute value makes everything in here, makes this answer positive. So I find the answer of negative 5. That becomes a positive 5. Next, I'm going to do the same thing with the second one, absolute value of A if A is positive 5. So I plug that in here. A is 5. So then the absolute value of positive 5 is also a positive 5. So again, I look up at my possible options. Looks like they are the same. So A and B don't work. And then C, the two numbers are equal. 5 is equal to 5. So I'm going to put in the letter C there.